Commander Veltar stood before the young cadets in the military academy. His 3 metal arms clicked softly as he moved. Scars covered his blue-scaled face. The large lecture hall was full of eager Zephyrian students. They wanted to learn about war and glory. The old commander looked at the star map floating above them. Tiny red dots showed human worlds, only 12 systems. The Zephyrian Empire controlled 1,000 worlds. The young soldiers laughed at the small human territory. "You think humans are weak," Veltar said. His voice was deep and rough. "You think they are nothing." "I thought the same thing 50 years ago." The cadets stopped laughing. They had heard stories about the commander. He had fought in every major battle against humans. He had lost 3 limbs and gained them back as metal replacements. "Let me tell you about my first meeting with humans," Veltar continued. "It was at Kepler Station, a simple trading post on the edge of space. We captured a human merchant ship called Lucky Strike. The hologram changed. It showed a small, ugly ship. The hull was patched with different metals. It looked like junk compared to Zephyrian vessels. Captain Jake Murphy commanded this ship. He had a crew of 12 humans. They looked so small and weak. Their skin was soft. No scales, no natural armor. We thought capturing them would be easy." Veltar remembered that day clearly. The Zephyrian boarding party had surrounded the humans. Murphy was a tall man with brown hair and green eyes. He did not fight. He just smiled and raised his hands. "We brought them to our interrogation facility," Veltar said. "The best prison in our fleet. Energy barriers, guard robots, surveillance cameras everywhere. We put each human in a separate cell." The commander's metal fingers drummed on the podium. "We wanted information about human colonies, their military strength, their technology. We thought breaking them would be simple." One young cadet raised her hand. "Did they tell you what you wanted to know?" Veltar made a sound like laughter, but there was no humor in it. "They told us nothing. But they showed us everything." The hologram changed again. It showed the prison layout. 12 small cells in a circle around a central guard station. Jake Murphy was in cell 1. Engineer Lisa Adams was in cell 3. Medic Tony Rodriguez was in cell 7. We watched them for 3 days. They just sat quietly. They seemed defeated. Veltar paused. The memory still bothered him after all these years. On the 4th night, Murphy started acting strange. He was playing with his food container, a simple plastic bowl. We thought he was going crazy from fear. The commander's voice got quieter. What we did not know was that Murphy was testing the plastic, bending it, heating it with friction, finding its breaking point. The cadets leaned forward. This was not the story they expected. Lisa Adams was doing the same thing with metal scraps from her meal tray. Tony Rodriguez was working with medical supplies from his first aid kit. Every human was studying their prison. Veltar walked closer to the students. They were not trying to break out that night. They were learning, understanding our technology, our materials, our security systems. The hologram showed a timeline. Day by day, the human activities looked innocent. They ate their meals. They slept. They seemed harmless. On the 7th night, everything changed, Veltar said. Murphy had turned his food bowl into cutting tools. Adams had made lockpicks from her meal tray. Rodriguez had created acid from cleaning chemicals. The young Zephyrians looked confused. "But how?" one asked. "Human brains work differently than ours," Veltar explained. "We see a food bowl as a food bowl. Humans see it as plastic that can be shaped into anything. We see security cameras as protection. Humans see them as devices with predictable patrol patterns." The commander activated another hologram. It showed the prison break in detail. Murphy cut through his energy barrier using makeshift tools. The barrier was designed to stop energy weapons and brute force. It was not designed to stop someone who understood its frequency patterns. Veltar's metal arms moved as he spoke. Adams picked the lock on her cell using improvised tools. The lock was electronic, but it had mechanical backup systems. She studied those systems for days. The story continued. Rodriguez created a smokescreen using medical chemicals and cleaning supplies. The smoke confused our sensors. Our guards could not see clearly. One by one, the humans had escaped their cells. They moved through the ship like they had lived there for years. They avoided patrols. They disabled security systems. They worked together without speaking. They reached our main computer core, Veltar said. This was the most protected area of the ship. Multiple security layers, armed guards, automatic weapons. The commander's voice grew darker. The humans did not try to fight through the security. Instead, they used the ventilation system. They crawled through air ducts that we thought were too small for living beings. The hologram showed tiny human figures moving through narrow spaces that Zephyrians could never fit through. Jake Murphy reached the computer terminal. He did not try to break our encryption. Instead, he plugged in a device that Tony Rodriguez had built from medical equipment. The device copied everything. Our star charts, our military codes, our ship designs. Veltar paused. The lecture hall was completely silent. Then they stole one of our patrol ships, a fast scout vessel. Lisa Adams figured out the controls in minutes. The ship was designed for Zephyrian hands, but she made it work with human hands. The commander looked at each cadet. They did not just escape. They escaped with our most secret information. Information that should have been impossible to steal. The hologram showed the small scout ship flying away from the Zephyrian fleet. It moved in ways that surprised everyone. The humans flew it better than most Zephyrian pilots. We tried to catch them, Veltar said. Our fastest ships chased them. Our best pilots hunted them. For 6 hours, we followed that scout ship through asteroid fields and gas clouds. The chase scene played out in the hologram. The human ship moved like a living thing. It dodged between asteroids. It hid in gas clouds. It used every trick possible. Finally, we lost them near a pulsar star. The radiation made our sensors useless. When the interference cleared, they were gone. Veltar's metal fingers stopped drumming. That was 50 years ago. Jake Murphy is now Admiral Murphy of the Human Defense Force. Lisa Adams designs starships that outperform ours. Tony Rodriguez trains human special forces. The young cadets looked at the star map again. The 12 human worlds seemed different now. Less like weakness and more like patience. What happened to the information they stole? A cadet asked. Veltar smiled, but it was not a happy expression. That, young soldiers, is a story for another day. Tomorrow I will tell you about Proxima Ridge. The day I learned that humans do not just think differently, they are willing to die differently too. The lecture hall emptied slowly. The cadets talked quietly among themselves. They looked at the human worlds on the star map with new eyes. Veltar remained behind, remembering faces he would never forget. The next day, Commander Veltar stood before the same group of cadets. They arrived early and sat quietly. Yesterday's story had changed how they looked at humans. Today, they wanted to hear more. Veltar's metal arm pointed at a new star map. A single planet appeared in the hologram. Rocky surface, 2 moons, thin atmosphere. Proxima Ridge, he said. My first real battle against humans. I was young then. A lieutenant in the 3rd Fleet, I had all my original limbs. The commander touched his left arm. The metal felt cold even through his uniform. We found a human colony ship in that system. A big, slow vessel carrying 10,000 refugees from Earth. Families with children. Old people. Workers looking for new homes. The hologram showed the colony ship. It was huge but ugly. Cargo containers welded together. No weapons visible. No military escort. Our admiral saw an easy target, Veltar continued. 10,000 human civilians. We could capture them all. Study them. Learn their weaknesses. A young cadet raised her hand. How many ships did you have? 50 warships, Veltar replied. The entire 3rd Fleet, against 1 unarmed colony ship. The cadets looked confused. Why send 50 warships against 1 civilian vessel? The humans had landed on Proxima Ridge 3 months earlier. They were building a settlement in the mountains. Our scouts reported 300 human soldiers protecting the colony. Veltar activated another hologram. It showed the mountain settlement. Small buildings scattered across rocky terrain. Primitive structures made from local materials. Colonel Sam Peterson commanded the Human Defense Force. A big man with gray hair and hard eyes, he had fought in Earth's wars before coming to space. The commander's voice grew serious. Peterson had soldiers, but they were not regular military. Kate Sullivan was a demolitions expert from mining operations. Danny Brooks was a hunter who became a sniper. Most of them were just colonists with basic training. The hologram showed human soldiers moving through the mountains. They looked small compared to Zephyrian warriors. Their equipment was simple. Old weapons, basic armor. Our admiral sent me down with the first assault wave. 2,000 Zephyrian soldiers in dropships. We had energy weapons, powered armor, air support. The humans had rifles and determination. Veltar remembered the landing clearly. The dropships had come down like metal rain. Engines roaring, weapons charging, soldiers ready for easy victory. We surrounded the human settlement. Admiral Kethver contacted Colonel Peterson by radio. He offered surrender terms. Keep the civilians safe, give up the soldiers, accept Zephyrian rule. The commander paused. Peterson's response was 2 words. I will not repeat them in this classroom. Some cadets smiled. They could imagine what the human colonel had said. The battle began at dawn. Veltar continued. We expected it to last hours. Peterson had 300 defenders against our 2,000 attackers. The hologram showed the mountain terrain. Steep cliffs, narrow valleys, rocky overhangs. Perfect for defense, terrible for assault. The first thing we learned was that humans fight differently. They did not stand in formation like proper soldiers. They hid behind rocks. They appeared, shot, and disappeared. They used the terrain like a weapon. Veltar's metal fingers clicked together. Danny Brooks killed 7 of my soldiers in the first hour. 1 shot each, from impossible distances. We could not even see where he was hiding. The story continued. Kate Sullivan had rigged explosives throughout the mountains. When our first wave advanced, she triggered avalanches. Hundreds of tons of rock fell on my troops. The commander walked among the cadets. We had better weapons, better armor, better technology. But the humans had something else. They knew every cave, every path, every hiding spot. They had spent 3 months preparing. The hologram showed underground tunnels. The humans had been busy during those 3 months. They had not just built a settlement. They had built a fortress. Peterson evacuated the civilians through hidden tunnels, Veltar explained. While we attacked the visible settlement, the non-combatants escaped through caves we did not know existed. A cadet asked, "Where did they go?" "The colony ship," Veltar replied. But Peterson did something we never expected. He turned that ship into a giant bomb. The cadets leaned forward. This was getting interesting. The colony ship had fusion reactors for power, fuel processing equipment, chemical storage for terraforming. Peterson's people had spent months rigging it all to explode. Veltar's voice got quieter, but they made it look normal. Civilians boarding, systems running, life support active. Our sensors showed 10,000 people getting ready to leave. The commander activated a new hologram. It showed Zephyrian ships surrounding the colony vessel. Boarding craft approaching. Admiral Kethvar ordered 3 of our ships to dock with the colony vessel. He wanted to capture the civilians before they could escape. Veltar's metal arm pointed at the tactical display. I was on the ground, fighting in the caves with Peterson's soldiers. My commander called me on the radio. He was excited. He said we had won. The civilians were trapped. The memory still hurt after 50 years. 20 minutes later, the colony ship exploded. The hologram showed the explosion. A ball of fire that turned night into day. The blast wave knocked down mountains. 3 Zephyrian cruisers vanished in the fireball. 15,000 Zephyrian soldiers died in that explosion. Veltar said. Peterson had evacuated his people hours earlier. The ship was empty except for bombs. The cadets sat in shocked silence. 15,000 dead from one human trick. But the battle was not over, the commander continued. Peterson and his 300 soldiers were still in the caves. Still fighting. Veltar touched his missing arm again. We spent the next 3 months hunting them. Mountain warfare against humans who knew every tunnel, every trap, every secret passage. The hologram showed the underground war. Humans moving through darkness. Zephyrian soldiers lost in unfamiliar caves. They used our own equipment against us. Kate Sullivan learned to make bombs from our power cells. Peterson's soldiers captured our weapons and ammunition. The commander's voice grew darker. Danny Brooks kept killing our officers. 1 shot, 1 kill from hiding spots we could not find. He learned our patrol patterns, our communication schedules, our weak points. Veltar stopped walking. I lost my arm in those caves. A human booby trap made from mining equipment. Kate Sullivan had rigged a tunnel to collapse when we stepped on a pressure plate. The cadets could see the pain in their instructor's eyes. Not physical pain. The pain of defeat. After 3 months, Admiral Kethvar ordered a retreat. We had started with 50 ships and 50,000 soldiers. We left with 30 ships and 20,000 survivors. A cadet asked the obvious question. What happened to Colonel Peterson? Veltar smiled grimly. He died in the last battle, but his soldiers kept fighting for another month. When they finally ran out of ammunition, they disappeared into the mountains. The commander looked at the star map again. 5 years later, Peterson's daughter, Lisa Peterson, joined the Human Defense Force. Kate Sullivan became their chief explosives instructor. Danny Brooks trained human snipers. The hologram showed new images. Human soldiers in advanced armor, weapons that looked suspiciously like improved Zephyrian designs. They learned from us, Veltar said. Everything we taught them in battle, they remembered. Everything we did wrong, they fixed. The lecture hall was quiet. The young Zephyrians were beginning to understand. Humans did not just fight to win. They fought to learn. Tomorrow, Veltar announced, I will tell you about New Boston. The day humans stopped defending and started attacking. The day I realized we had created something we could not control. The cadets filed out slowly. They looked at their weapons differently now. Their armor felt less protective. Their training seemed less important. Veltar remained behind, staring at the hologram of Proxima Ridge. 50 years later, he could still hear the explosions, still see the fire, still remember the moment he realized that humans were not prey. They were predators learning to hunt. Commander Veltar looked different on the third day. His metal arms moved more slowly. His scars seemed deeper. The cadets noticed the change as they took their seats. New Boston, he said simply. The star map changed to show a fortified world, massive cities, orbital defense platforms, industrial complexes covering entire continents. Humanity's first major military installation. 5 years after Proxima Ridge, I was a colonel by then. The Zephyrian High Command wanted to crush human expansion before it grew too strong. A cadet raised her hand. How strong were they? Veltar activated the tactical display. 50 human worlds by then. 2 million soldiers. Admiral Lucy Chen commanded their defense fleet. She was Peterson's former communications officer from Proxima Ridge. The hologram showed a stern woman with black hair and sharp eyes. She wore a blue uniform covered in medals. Admiral Chen had learned from Peterson's sacrifice, Veltar continued. But she did not plan to die heroically. She planned to win completely. The commander's metal fingers drummed against the podium. The Zephyrian Empire sent everything. 500 warships, 1 million soldiers, orbital bombardment platforms. We called it Operation Final Strike. The tactical display showed the massive Zephyrian fleet approaching New Boston, ships of every size and type, enough firepower to destroy a dozen worlds. I commanded the Ground Assault Division, elite troops with the best equipment. We had studied human tactics from previous battles. We thought we were prepared. Veltar paused, remembering. We were not prepared. The hologram changed to show New Boston's surface. What looked like a normal city was something else entirely. Chief Engineer Ryan Parker had spent 2 years rebuilding that world. Every building was a fortress. Every street was a kill zone. Every civilian structure hid military equipment. The display zoomed in on the city layout. Underground tunnels connected every building. Hidden weapon positions covered every approach. What looked like apartment buildings were actually military bunkers. Defense Coordinator Mary Johnson had evacuated all civilians to underground cities, miles of tunnels and chambers carved into solid rock. The humans had built an entire civilization beneath the surface. A young cadet looked confused. Why not just bombardment the planet from orbit? Veltar's expression grew grim. We tried. Admiral Chen let us waste ammunition on empty buildings for 3 days. When we finally landed, we found out why she was not worried about orbital strikes. The hologram showed the bombardment results. Destroyed buildings, cratered streets, smoking ruins. The real city was underground. The surface was just a shell, a fake target to waste our time and ammunition. The commander activated a cross-section view. It showed the true scope of human preparation. The underground city was 3 times larger than the surface settlements. When my division landed, we thought we were conquering ruins. Instead, we walked into the most sophisticated trap in military history. Veltar's voice got quieter. Sergeant Alex Turner commanded the first human unit we encountered. His squad had been watching us land for hours. They knew exactly where we were going. The tactical display showed human soldiers moving through the underground tunnels. They appeared behind Zephyrian forces. They attacked and disappeared. They struck from impossible angles. Turner's people had developed something they called ghost protocols, hit-and-run attacks using stolen Zephyrian technology. They had been capturing our equipment for years, studying it, improving it. The hologram showed human weapons that looked like Zephyrian designs, but they were different. Smaller, faster, more efficient. Dr. Helen Ross had created improvised weapons from industrial chemicals, acids that ate through our armor, gases that disabled our sensors, explosives that turned our own technology against us. Veltar walked among the cadets. Every human soldier was an engineer. Every engineer was a warrior. They did not just fight with weapons. They fought with their minds. The story continued with images of urban warfare. Buildings that looked safe were full of traps. Streets that seemed clear were covered by hidden snipers. Every room was a potential battlefield. We controlled the surface, but the humans controlled everything else. They moved through their tunnels like water. They appeared where we did not expect them. They vanished when we tried to fight back. A cadet asked, "How long did the siege last?" 8 months, Veltar replied. 8 months of constant fighting. We had superior numbers, superior weapons, superior technology. But the humans had superior preparation. The commander's metal arm pointed at casualty reports. The numbers were shocking. Zephyrian losses grew every day while human losses stayed low. By the 4th month, we realized something terrible. The humans were not just defending. They were learning. Every weapon we used, they studied. Every tactic we tried, they countered. The hologram showed captured Zephyrian equipment in human hands. Energy weapons modified for human use. Armor redesigned for human bodies. Vehicles converted to human specifications. Admiral Chen had teams of engineers working around the clock. They reverse-engineered everything we brought to the battle. Our communication systems, our targeting computers, our power sources. Veltar's voice grew darker. By the 6th month, human soldiers were using better versions of our own weapons. Weapons that we had designed, but they had improved. The tactical display showed the changing balance of power. Human effectiveness increased while Zephyrian advantages disappeared. Ryan Parker figured out our faster-than-light communication technology. The humans suddenly had real-time coordination across the entire planet. They could plan attacks instantly and execute them perfectly. The commander stopped walking. Mary Johnson learned our orbital strike patterns. Human forces disappeared from areas just before bombardments. They reappeared in areas we thought were safe. A cadet asked the question everyone was thinking. "Did you win?" Veltar was quiet for a long moment. "Define winning." The hologram changed to show the final battle statistics. Zephyrian casualties, 400,000 dead, 200,000 wounded. Human casualties, 50,000 dead, 100,000 wounded. We held the surface of New Boston. The humans kept their underground cities. But something else happened during those 8 months. The commander activated a new display. It showed technological developments. Human ships with Zephyrian engines, human weapons with Zephyrian power systems, human armor with Zephyrian shielding. The humans had captured enough of our technology to build their own advanced military. They went from primitive fighters to our technological equals in 8 months. Veltar's metal fingers stopped drumming. When the ceasefire was declared, Admiral Chen had achieved her real goal. Not victory in one battle, but equality in all future battles. The cadets looked at the development timeline. The progression was frightening. Human technology improved faster than anyone thought possible. Alex Turner became the first human to command a Zephyrian-designed starship. Helen Ross established human weapons research facilities. Ryan Parker led joint human Zephyrian engineering projects. The commander looked at each cadet. The siege of New Boston ended with a peace treaty. But it was not a treaty between conqueror and conquered. It was a treaty between equals. The star map appeared again. Human territory had not grown much in size, but its quality had changed completely. Industrial worlds, military academies, research stations. 6 months after New Boston, the first human-designed starship appeared. It was faster than ours, more efficient than ours, better armed than ours. Veltar activated the final hologram. It showed a sleek vessel that combined human engineering with Zephyrian technology. The result was beautiful and terrifying. That ship was commanded by Admiral Jake Murphy, the same merchant captain who had escaped from our prison years earlier. He had learned our technology and surpassed it. The lecture hall was completely silent. The young Zephyrians were beginning to understand what their instructor was trying to teach them. New Boston taught us that humans do not just adapt to threats. They absorb them. They take everything we throw at them and make it their own. Veltar looked at the human worlds on the star map. Tomorrow I will tell you about Arcturus Base, the day the hunters became the hunted. The day I learned that humans had stopped copying us and started teaching us. The cadets left slowly. They talked in whispers about what they had heard. Their homework that night was to study human technological development. The reading assignments would give them nightmares. Veltar remained behind, staring at the images of New Boston. He remembered walking through those tunnels, fighting an enemy that seemed to be everywhere and nowhere. The humans had not just won a battle at New Boston. They had won the future. And they had done it by becoming something the galaxy had never seen before. A species that learned faster than anyone could teach them. Commander Veltar entered the lecture hall on the 4th day, and the cadets immediately noticed something different. His movements were more careful. His metal arms made softer sounds. When he looked at them, there was something new in his eyes. Fear. Arcturus Base, he said. The star map showed a massive military installation orbiting a gas giant. Defensive platforms, shipyards, weapon batteries, the pride of the Zephyrian Empire. 10 years after New Boston. I was a general by then. Arcturus Base was our most important stronghold. Home to the 5th Fleet. 200 ships, 500,000 personnel, enough firepower to conquer solar systems. The hologram rotated slowly, showing the base's impressive defenses. Energy shields, missile platforms, fighter squadrons patrolling in formation. The human territories had grown quiet after New Boston. No major military actions, no expansion attempts. Our intelligence said they were focusing on internal development. A cadet raised her hand. What were they really doing? Veltar's expression grew darker. Learning to think like us, but better. The star map changed to show human space. The territory looked the same, but the tactical display revealed something else. Industrial output had increased by 500%. Ship construction, weapon manufacturing, research facilities. General Lisa Adams commanded their new offensive capability. The same engineer who had escaped from our prison with Jake Murphy. She had spent 10 years studying Zephyrian military doctrine. The hologram showed a middle-aged woman with gray-streaked hair and calculating eyes. She wore a uniform that combined human and Zephyrian design elements. Adams did not plan to attack Arcturus Base directly. She planned something much worse. She planned to make us destroy ourselves. Veltar activated a timeline display. The operation began with Intelligence Officer Nathan White. He had spent 5 years learning our language, our culture, our psychology. He understood us better than we understood ourselves. The timeline showed White's infiltration, false identities, forged documents, careful placement in Zephyrian society. He had become invisible by becoming ordinary. White identified every weakness in our system, every corrupt official, every security gap, every communication vulnerability, but he did not exploit them immediately. The commander walked among the cadets. Instead, he mapped them. He created a complete picture of how Arcturus Base really worked. Not how it was supposed to work, but how it actually worked. The hologram showed an organizational chart. Official command structure versus actual power relationships. The difference was significant. Admiral Jake Murphy led the human strike force. Not the same Jake Murphy who had been a merchant captain. This was Admiral Murphy, commander of the human deep strike fleet. The tactical display showed Murphy's forces. 50 ships that looked like modified Zephyrian designs but moved differently. Faster, more precise, more coordinated. The attack began 6 months before anyone realized there was an attack, Veltar explained. Captain Susan Taylor's stealth teams had been eliminating key personnel for half a year. The casualty reports appeared on screen. They looked like accidents, illnesses, transfers. Nothing suspicious by itself, but the pattern was clear in hindsight. Communications Officer Peter Davis died in a shuttle accident. Supply Coordinator Linda Wilson suffered food poisoning that lasted 3 weeks. Fighter Squadron Leader Carlos Martinez requested emergency leave for family reasons. Veltar's metal fingers clicked nervously. Each loss seemed normal, but together they created gaps in our command structure, gaps that the humans had planned carefully. The timeline showed the careful timing. Each elimination weakened a specific part of the base's operations. Nothing obvious, nothing traceable, but everything connected. Engineer Carlos Martinez had infiltrated our maintenance systems months earlier. Not Carlos Martinez, the fighter pilot. A different Carlos Martinez, human intelligence officer with stolen credentials. The hologram showed the maintenance tunnels beneath Arcturus Base, miles of corridors that carried power, water, air, communications, the base's nervous system. Martinez did not sabotage anything immediately. Instead, he installed monitoring devices, backup systems, remote access points. He gave the humans complete control over our infrastructure. A cadet asked, "Why did no one notice?" "Because they made everything work better," Veltar replied. Power efficiency increased. Communication reliability improved. Life support systems ran smoother. The humans fixed our problems while gaining control of our systems. The commander's voice grew quieter. By the time Admiral Murphy's fleet arrived, Arcturus Base was already compromised. We just did not know it yet. The tactical display showed the human fleet's approach. They did not try to hide. They came openly, broadcasting surrender demands, behaving like a conventional attack force. I commanded the base's defense, 200 Zephyrian ships against 50 human vessels. The odds looked good to us. Veltar activated the battle recordings. We launched our fighters, charged our weapons, raised our shields. We prepared for glorious combat. The hologram showed Zephyrian forces responding to the human threat. Ships moving into formation, weapons powering up, communications coordinating the defense. Then everything stopped working. The battle display changed dramatically. Zephyrian ships losing power, communication systems going silent, weapons failing to charge, shield generators shutting down. Carlos Martinez had been waiting for the right moment. When our systems were under maximum stress, he activated his modifications. Every ship, every platform, every defense grid. Veltar's metal arm pointed at the disaster unfolding on screen. Our ships could not move. Our weapons could not fire. Our communications were jammed. But the humans could control everything. The cadets watched in horror as Zephyrian vessels turned their weapons on each other. Ships that had been allies seconds before were now firing at point-blank range. The humans did not destroy us with their weapons. They destroyed us with our own weapons. Ship after ship commanded by our own computers firing on our own forces. The commander's voice was barely a whisper. In 30 minutes, half the Fifth Fleet was destroyed. Not by human guns, but by Zephyrian guns controlled by human software. The timeline showed Admiral Murphy's real strategy. The visible fleet was a distraction. The real attack had been going on for months through infiltration and sabotage. Those of us who survived found ourselves trapped in our own base, life support controlled by humans. Security systems turned against us. Our own robots hunting us through our own corridors. Veltar stopped walking. I spent 6 weeks hiding in maintenance tunnels, slowly starving, while humans controlled the base I had commanded for 3 years. The hologram showed the final phase. Human forces did not storm the base. They did not need to. They controlled everything from the inside. Admiral Murphy offered surrender terms after 6 weeks. Full amnesty for personnel, medical care for the wounded, safe transport to Zephyrian space. A cadet asked, "Did you surrender? What choice did we have?" Veltar replied, "We were already prisoners in our own base. The humans were just being polite about it." The surrender ceremony appeared on screen, Zephyrian officers signing documents while human guards watched. But the humans were not arrogant. They were respectful, professional, almost apologetic. Jake Murphy spoke to me personally before I left. He apologized for the deception. He said it was necessary to minimize casualties on both sides. Veltar's metal fingers stopped clicking. He was right. Traditional assault would have killed hundreds of thousands. His way killed 12,000, mostly from accidents during system failures. The commander looked at each cadet. That was the day I realized humans had surpassed us. Not just in technology, but in thinking. They understood war better than we did. The star map appeared again, but now human territory looked different. Not larger, but more important. Strategic positions, supply routes, communication hubs. Nathan White became the first human ambassador to the Zephyrian Empire. Susan Taylor established human intelligence schools. Carlos Martinez designed joint human-Zephyrian security systems. The timeline showed rapid changes after Arcturus base. Human advisors in Zephyrian military planning. Human technology in Zephyrian ships. Human tactics in Zephyrian training. Within 2 years, we were asking humans for help with our own military problems. Pirate raids, border disputes, internal conflicts. Somehow, human solutions always worked better than ours. Veltar activated the final display. Current fleet compositions, command structures, operational doctrines. Everything showed human influence. Admiral Lisa Adams now oversees security for half the galaxy. Her ships patrol trade routes that include dozens of species. Everyone feels safer when humans are protecting them. The cadets looked at the patrol routes. Human ships were everywhere, but they were not conquering. They were protecting. Tomorrow, Veltar announced, I will tell you about today. About what the galaxy looks like now. About what it means to live in a universe where humans are no longer the hunted. The lecture hall emptied slowly. The young Zephyrians had stopped talking altogether. They just stared at their own equipment, wondering how much of it was really under their control. Veltar remained behind, looking at the battle recordings from Arcturus base. 10 years later, he still felt the helplessness of that day. The moment Commander Veltar stood before his cadets for the final time. The lecture hall felt different now. The young Zephyrians sat quietly, no longer eager for stories of war and glory. They had learned what their instructor wanted them to learn. Today, Veltar said simply, the galaxy as it exists now. The star map appeared, but it looked nothing like the one from 5 days ago. Human territory was still small, only 15 systems. But colored lines connected every major trade route, every important world, every strategic position in known space. 50 years after Kepler Station, 20 years after Arcturus Base. This is what the galaxy looks like when humans finish teaching. A cadet raised her hand hesitantly. Teaching what? Veltar's metal arms moved slowly as he activated new displays. Teaching everyone that intelligence is not about having the biggest guns or the strongest ships. Intelligence is about adapting faster than threats can develop. The hologram showed current fleet dispositions. Human ships patrolled with vessels from a dozen different species. Zephyrian cruisers flew alongside human destroyers. Everyone used similar technology, similar tactics, similar command structures. Admiral Danny Brooks commands the Joint Patrol Force, the same sniper who killed 7 of my soldiers on Proxima Ridge. He now protects trade routes for 43 different species. The tactical display showed patrol patterns covering half the galaxy. Perfectly coordinated, incredibly efficient, absolutely comprehensive. Colonel Kate Sullivan oversees peacekeeping operations. The same demolitions expert who collapsed mountains on my troops. She now prevents wars before they start. Veltar walked among the cadets. Dr. Ryan Parker leads the Galactic Technology Council. The same engineer who reverse-engineered our systems at New Boston. He now designs improvements for everyone's equipment. The timeline showed technological development over the past 20 years. Every major advancement had human input. Faster engines, better weapons, improved communications, all shared freely among allied species. You might ask why humans share their technology. Veltar continued. Why they do not keep advantages for themselves. A cadet asked the obvious question. Why do they? Because they learned something we never understood, the commander replied. The best way to control the galaxy is to make everyone dependent on your guidance. The hologram showed economic data. Trade flows, resource exchanges, manufacturing centers. Human worlds processed raw materials from everywhere and provided finished goods to everyone. Humans do not conquer worlds. They improve them. They do not destroy enemies. They convert them into partners. They do not rule through fear. They rule through necessity. Veltar activated a new display showing diplomatic relationships. The web of alliances, trade agreements, and security pacts centered on human space like spokes on a wheel. Ambassador Nathan White negotiated the current peace accords. Every major species signed treaties that guarantee free trade, shared technology, and joint defense. But the treaties require human oversight. The commander's voice grew thoughtful. The genius of human diplomacy is that everyone benefits from their system. We are all richer, safer, and more advanced than we were 50 years ago. A cadet looked confused. Then what is the problem? Veltar's metal fingers drummed against the podium. The problem is that we cannot survive without them anymore. Remove human technology, human coordination, human protection, and the galaxy falls apart. The timeline showed what happened when species tried to leave human influence. Economic collapse, technological regression, internal conflicts. Every attempt at independence failed within months. Admiral Lucy Chen oversees the Threat Assessment Bureau. Her job is to identify problems before they become dangerous. Pirate groups, resource conflicts, territorial disputes. She solves them all. The holographic display showed recent interventions. Human forces appeared wherever trouble started. Not to conquer, but to mediate. Not to destroy, but to fix. The beautiful horror of human strategy is that they make their control feel like friendship. Every species in the galaxy considers humans their greatest allies. Veltar stopped walking and looked directly at his students. Including us. The star map zoomed in on Zephyrian space. Human advisors in every major command center. Human technology in every new ship. Human officers training Zephyrian cadets. General Lisa Adams personally designed the curriculum you are studying. The tactics you learn, the equipment you use, the strategies you practice, all created or approved by humans. The cadets looked at their own uniforms, their own equipment, their own classroom with new understanding. Everything around them showed human influence. This academy was built with human assistance. Your dormitories use human life support designs. Your cafeteria serves food prepared with human nutritional science. Your training weapons are human modifications of Zephyrian originals. Veltar's voice grew softer. Even this lecture series was suggested by human education specialists. They thought young Zephyrians should understand their history. A cadet asked quietly, "Are we prisoners?" The commander considered the question carefully. "Are you hungry? Are you safe? Are you learning? Are you free to choose your career, your friends, your future?" The cadets had to admit they were all of those things. "Then you are not prisoners," Veltar continued. "You are children in a very large family. A family with human parents." The hologram showed the current human leadership. Admiral Jake Murphy, now fleet commander for half the galaxy. General Lisa Adams, military advisor to dozen species. Dr. Ryan Parker, technological coordinator for hundreds of worlds. These humans have become the galaxy's shepherds. They guide without commanding. They protect without conquering. They improve without controlling. Veltar activated the final display. Population statistics, economic indicators, conflict reports. Every measure showed improvement over the past 50 years. War casualties are down 90%. Trade efficiency is up 300%. Technological advancement happens 50 times faster than before human contact. The commander looked at each cadet individually. By every objective measure, human leadership has made the galaxy better. A cadet asked the question everyone was thinking. "Then why do you seem afraid?" Veltar was quiet for a long moment. "Because humans have solved the ultimate strategic problem. They have made themselves necessary. Not just useful, not just helpful, but absolutely essential." The star map showed the reality of galactic infrastructure. Communication networks designed by humans. Trade routes protected by humans. Conflict resolution managed by humans. Technology development guided by humans. Remove humans from this equation, and civilization collapses within months. They have become the central nervous system of galactic society. Veltar's metal arms moved slowly as he prepared the final lesson. The terrifying thing about humans is not that they are violent. Violence can be defeated. It is not that they are intelligent. Intelligence can be matched. The commander looked out at the stars visible through the classroom windows. The terrifying thing about humans is that they are necessary, and necessary powers cannot be removed without destroying everything they support. A young cadet asked, "What happens next?" Veltar smiled, but there was no humor in the expression. "Next, you graduate and become part of the system. You will serve under human advisors. You will use human technology. You will follow human protocols." The graduation ceremony schedule appeared on screen. Human officials would present the awards. Human standards would determine advancement. Human approval would decide careers. "And you will be grateful for it," Veltar continued. "Because human guidance works. It keeps you safe, keeps you fed, keeps you advancing. You will love your human colleagues because they are competent, fair, and helpful." The commander's voice grew very quiet. 50 years ago, humans were primitive refugees hiding in cargo ships. Today, they are the parents of galactic civilization. The timeline showed the transformation. From escaped prisoners to technological equals to indispensable partners to beloved leaders, each step logical, each change beneficial, each transition welcomed. Captain Jake Murphy stole our databases to help his people survive. Admiral Jake Murphy now protects our children because we cannot protect them ourselves. Veltar looked at the star map one final time. The most terrifying thing about battling humans is not that you might lose. It is that if you win, you discover you have destroyed the only species capable of managing the galaxy effectively. The lecture hall was completely silent. The young Zephyrians understood now why their instructor had metal arms, why his voice was tired, why his eyes held secrets. "Class dismissed," Veltar announced. "Report to Human Advisor Martinez for advanced tactical training tomorrow morning." The cadets filed out slowly. Tomorrow they would begin learning from their former enemies. They would excel in their studies, advance in their careers, and serve the galaxy faithfully. Veltar remained behind, looking at the empty classroom. In a few minutes, Human Education Coordinator Sarah Johnson would arrive for their weekly consultation. She would ask about student progress, curriculum effectiveness, morale indicators. He would give her the same report he always did. The students were adapting well to human guidance. They were learning their lessons effectively. They would become valuable members of the galactic community.